I think that's one of the biggest things about Republicans. They have fallen into this game of manipulation and lies that it shouldn't be hard. I mean, if I was a politician, when you tell the truth sets everything else free. You know, when you tell the truth, open up for fact checks, but don't go out on TV saying things for political reasons, because anyone can be fact checked and you look dumb at the end of the day. Like, we don't come on this podcast just to lie. If we don't know something, we'll say, hey, we don't know about it. But a lot of politicians, Republicans, Democrats, they state things as facts and it gets them in trouble. For instance, when Donald Trump, do your research. Don't go with the people who are eating dogs. Maybe they are, but you have to have solid, grounded facts before you make a statement like that. If the Republicans I don't think they want a fact check. I think they want the haze in the air, because that's politics. Because if you told the truth, it's simple to narrow down things. And it would be so beautiful. I wish someone would come out with a podcast with just strictly facts. No matter what side it hurts, just strictly facts, because at the end of the day, facts are the only thing that can set the world free. But I think politics and politicians they want the chaos. They don't want the straightforward. We should know exactly why this guy didn't send the people out for 5 days. It's not that hard, or anything that's going on, smudging numbers. How can you, as a Republican, how can you let them use the technique of a recession? How can you change the definition of a recession? How do you let someone just say, well, it's not one now? You can say anything you want to say. Republicans that do a horrible job of letting Democrats off the hook of lying, just flat out lie.
This is Sparta!
Welcome back to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick. And this week, we got a leadership and review episode. So in the studio, the man, the myth, the legend, Emanuel Whitfield. What's going on, brother?
I'm like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. I'm back. I'm back, everybody.
A much darker Jack Nicholson. That's good.
I'm Black Jack Nicholson, like the pirate.
So if this is your first time tuning in, you are in for a treat, because E is always bringing the jokes, bringing the heat. But typically we are a leader-to-leader episode focusing on growing as leaders, inspiration, impact, and all that fun stuff. In these leadership and reviews, we get to harp on a lot of the things that aren't going well in leadership, particularly politics. Politricks.
Yes.
That's right. And with only a couple weeks to go to the most important election of our lifetimes, we thought we'd focus on that.
This was big.
We only got a couple weeks, man.
3 weeks.
What's going on? What are you thinking?
I'm really thinking, with the politics that's going on, I really feel like if there's anything close or they project it to be close, it always falls into the Democrats' lap. I've never seen a Republican win a swing state that was close. And I don't think that's by default. I think that's just by, tricks and cheating, Pennsylvania, Michigan,
Wisconsin,
all
Arizona.
of those places, it always falls into the Democrats' lap, and all they have to do is disguise it as it's close. Trump could be blowing Kamala out the water in one of those places, even like Georgia, anytime it's close, it's never swung into a Republican's favor. So you tell me.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, before we get too far, we got to talk about the cigars we're smoking.
Yes, sir.
So I gave you a Perdomo Habano. How's it smoking so far?
It's really good. Smooth.
Yeah, Perdomos are largely smooth.
What do you got today?
I got the Opus X 888 Perfeccion.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like an old album from like the Rolling Stones in the 70s, the Opus X. It'd be a cool album.
Mm-hmm. Although there might be some copyright infringement with the Fuente family, but I'm sure they could collab.
So before we talk about these cigars so much, one of my uncles called last night and he was like, these new kids, they text you with all of these letters. And he said, what does IDK mean? I said, I don't know. And he said, well, I'll call you back. I need to find someone that knows. That's my joke for today.
I was say, you better bring some better jokes than that. That was a true dad joke.
I don't know.
I saw, actually, on that note, I saw this video of this couple. They're pretty popular. I don't even know their names, but I've seen them often on Reels. And she says to him, if you can say one word that'll piss me off, I'll do anything you want to you. Anything you want me to do. And he just goes, what?
That pissed her off?
No, and she goes on, just say one word that would piss me off and I'll do anything you want. What? And she goes on, and like it just goes back and forth.
And what was the word?
And what was the word?
That would annoy you if someone kept saying, what? What? I like
but
that.
It proved the point because she started getting upset.
Yes.
What word would have you used?
Democrat. Democrat.
All right. Speaking of, so let's talk about why this is the most important election of our lifetime. So what was the first election you voted in?
Probably Obama.
So, and you're older than me.
Yeah. I never voted before that. I voted for Obama. That was the first person that I voted for. I wasn't even interested in politics at the time, so it was just identity voting,
Yeah.
And to me, he's probably one of the worst presidents ever, but.
And you voted for him.
Yes.
Yeah. But you learned.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're not just vote blue no matter who.
No. It's just, I think voting is so crazy now. People vote for feelings. And I was thinking about, like, if you had people vote for their team and they don't care what policies their team brings, they just want to vote for the win. And I was just thinking, if they had a Super Bowl, you want to see a Super Bowl champ, you would never want a tie. And that's what politicians have done. They've divided people so much to root for one team that they forget what's good for America. Because how satisfied would you be if you went to the Super Bowl and it ended in a tie and both teams won? You'd be like, I didn't get my money's worth. I wanted my team to win. You got to go into sudden death, overtime. Someone's got to win. So I look at it like when Americans are winning as a team, as a whole, it doesn't feel good to most voters. They want their team to win, no matter even if those policies are higher gas prices, higher rent. Democrats want their team to win, and Republicans want their team to win. It's just Republicans are on the right team right now, in my opinion.
Well, some of them are. My first one was when I was 20, and that was the Bush-Gore election. Mm-hmm. So I was 2000. I remember I was at UW Whitewater. And lined up there. It was an interesting experience. But it was cool to be able to exercise that opportunity for the first time.
That was the Hanging Chad election. That Hanging Chad vote decided the election. So that's a real, hold on. It came down to one vote. Remember the Hanging Chad?
No.
You don't remember the Hanging Chad?
No.
Oh, look it up. That's what decided the election. The Hanging Chad, they went to like the Supreme Court and everything. It was one Chad. It was like a little piece of a vote that was hanging, and it didn't count, I don't think. So, yeah. Surprised you don't know about that, the great guru.
No, I was too young back then.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting, though, you fast forward, and I voted in every election since then. Mm-hmm. I voted both parties since then. I voted Libertarian. I voted Libertarian in 2016. Now, a lot of people will say that's a waste of a vote. But every vote is supposed to count. If we want to get away from this two-party system, which has got us divided into teams, like you mentioned, then we also got to get away from the mentality of wasted votes.
It's so far gone right now. People are just lost. Both parties, people are just lost. And I feel like until Trump, it was politics as usual. The warmongers, the military-industrial complex, and the NAFTA, the TTP, the overshipping of jobs. It took both parties to do that. And Trump kind of exposed it. That's why I feel like after Trump, we won't find another true leader And once he's gone, it's over. I think it's over, and I just want 4 more years of him to try to clean it up and rub off on a J.D. Vance, because he's very articulate, but he was still part of the swamp just before Trump put him on his ticket. J.D. Vance was saying Trump is Hitler and all of this, and some of his radical views as far as I'm not abortion type of guy, but I'm abortion tolerant. And he was just flat out blank, no abortion. That's political suicide when you think that way, when there's no exception for rape or incest and a woman's health and all of that stuff. When you're just totally against it, abortion is too much of a political issue right now for Democrats, and a radical Republican on that's a recipe to lose. So,
well, I slightly disagree on that it's over. I think that where we are screwed if Trump loses for a temporary period of time.
Who do you think could step up to the plate and be that honest? Do you think a J.D. Vance could get on TV?
Vivek?
Yes, I think he is. I think we'd have.
But
Trump.
I think also because, if they steal this election, like they did the last one, and now that we'll get a bunch of Democrats say, "Oh, they didn't steal the election. That's more lies." There's been way too much evidence, and the Supreme Court in Georgia has just subpoenaed the Fulton County records. There's been way too much evidence to support that they did. So you're an ignoramus if you don't think that there's smoke and there's fire there. So that being said, I think that there will be more leadership and more unrest if this election is stolen. That's why it's so important that everyone votes.
Yeah, and I mean, it could be unrest and stuff like that, but you have to have the politicians that's willing to put it on the line. I like a Vivek, I don't know if they'd murder him, but there's just not a lot of Republicans or Democrats who's willing to tell the truth, or who could get up and say the military-industrial complex wants me to go to war. That's what Donald Trump said. Donald Trump put his money where his mouth was. You get Barack Obama, you get all of these warmongering Democrats that talk the talk. But what did you do for prison reform? Democrats have had, 20, 30 years to do something about prison reform? Donald Trump did something about it in 4 years. Donald Trump told the truth. Donald Trump's the one who didn't start wars. And Democrats have flipped so much into identity politics that they're willing to be warmongers. You got Kamala Harris bragging about Dick Cheney endorsing her.
Still,
are you kidding me?
Like more than once.
Are you kidding me?
She's talking about the coalition of people she put together. Yeah, the coalition of warmongers.
Warmonger. And then look at Trump on the flip side. The 2 peace candidates. You got Kennedy. You got Tulsi Gabbard. These guys are the ones that are against war, that's endorsing him. But people don't see it. People don't see it. And Black America, I hate to say it. And all my Black friends, they know I speak from the heart. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I was just on C-SPAN the other day, and I called in, and I was just talking about immigration, how it affects the Black community. And this is nothing against my Hispanic friends. More power to you. I'm happy that you're doing great. But I look at the numbers. Men lie, women lie. Numbers don't lie. When you go up to Senate Middle School, it's 40% Hispanic. It's a dual language school. Hispanics are in second place as far as reading levels and math scores. They're in second place next to, you got Asians at number 1, and whites and Blacks are just falling and falling and falling. My buddy's the principal there. They had a Heritage Night for Hispanics. The gym was packed. Parents, participation. African American Night, you can hear crickets in the gym. But Black voters say white supremacy and killing babies is their major issue. You have no room to cry to me.
You know what's interesting about that? You say that? So my kids are at a private Christian school, and they play a lot of other private schools. So they play Lighthouse, right? Mm-hmm. And Lighthouse is largely Hispanic here in Madison. I think they go through 8th grade as well. I don't think they have a high school. I could be wrong on that. But it's interesting you say that. Their parents show out.
Oh, they don't play.
And they're still married.
Yes.
Right? And they
don't believe in abortion.
And they are allowed, and they are proud of their kids, and they are there to support.
Familia. And the Black community, who will say, I'm the sellout because I care so much and I want to see them thrive, where our kids can't even read on grade level. My buddies are principals at these schools. So I got the insight. One of my buddies came to the tasting room the other day. He said, look at my day. Nothing but black girls fighting in the hallway. Fighting in the hallway. This is what he deals with every day. But black voters, they see Donald Trump as the threat. And they love the people who sweep it under the rug. You cannot heal the problem until you deal with the issue. And they want to sweep it under the rug. So I tell them, I'm done. I give up. Insanity. How on earth are blacks voting at 80% toward the Democratic Party, who's had 80 years to show something? I'm not a hater. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an American. If I saw some grade levels going up or crime going down or any progress or what you've done, if I've seen Kamala Harris do a great job and there's no wars going on and gas prices went down and she was doing a good job, I'd be like, more power to you, Kamala. Yeah. But it's just the total opposite, you know? And Donald Trump was the one. I was reading gas prices the other day. George Bush and Donald Trump had the lowest gas prices in the last 20 years. Obama and Joe Biden has the highest gas prices ever, you know? Never went under $3 under him. It never went above $3 under Trump.
Well, that's what a lot of people don't understand about the Green New Deal. Mm-hmm. It's a transference of wealth. So for instance, let's talk about real quick, before we get into the candidates, I think it's important for us to address the weather and what's happened in the Carolinas and Georgia and Florida.
They're trying to blame it on global warming.
Well, the left is.
Yes.
Yeah, they're trying to say that it's because there's this meteorologist out of Tampa that's a huge global warming fanatic. And they're like saying, well, this guy has never seen a storm like this, and it's because of the temperatures of the Gulf. And then you got the far right, which is blaming, HAARP, which is people and manipulation of the weather. I'm not here to decide either of those things.
Because we spit facts. If we don't know it's true, we don't go out and say, well, it's being controlled. We don't know. It's a possibility.
No, yeah. So that's the other thing is the left, you need to understand that this technology does exist.
Exactly. They started this in like 42. They've been working on this.
Correct.
Stuff.
And they've used it in Vietnam in the war. Right, and governments have been doing this. There's interviews of scientists from NASA and other places that have bragged about this on mainstream news as early as 9 years ago.
Try telling that to a Democrat, though.
But that's what I'm trying to tell them right now. Is like, so you can go and look up these interviews. You can go and look up all the patents. In fact, I have the list of patents for this. So I'm not here to say that it was caused by that. The fact of the matter is the technology does exist. And so what I do want to say is, though, you didn't see one EV, one Prius, one purple-haired person pulling into North Carolina to help. Exactly. What you did see is a bunch of country boys in their diesel trucks and their tractors and all their American flags lining up to go and help those people in the mountains.
Yeah.
And I have friends on the ground that have been there since 24 hours after and are still there today, getting help to the people that need it the most.
Wow.
And so it's interesting, right? Because if people don't think about this. We're going to switch to battery operated everything. Okay. Let's talk about that. Hurricane hits. There's no power. How you charge it?
Charge it up. Yeah.
Generator's an answer. Okay. How do you power a generator?
Gasoline.
Taliban gasoline.
Gasolina.
So
that
yeah,
is so true. That is so.
So that's true. The thing is, like, you don't even think about a natural disaster, and you're going to have a battery-operated car that can't even move around.
What about the hypocrisy?
Battery-operated helicopter that can't get to the mountains because it can't get.
The hypocrisy of that. The people that are pushing this the most, they fly in their private jets. They don't come in no electric jet. They come with their electric jets. You got Kerry, who was supposed to be the czar of energy and all of that stuff. And he's flying in private jets. And that little girl that was going around talking about save the earth and flying around in
Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, flying around in private jets. Put your money where your mouth is,
No, they're not going to do that.
Show me state. No, they're not.
Hypocrisy.
Yep.
So, but that's the point I wanted to make is, so God's prayers from all of us to those that are still affected by this. And there are some great Americans that are down there helping.
Yeah.
Not FEMA and the national government so much. They're very slow to react. And hey, I want to say this, though, too, to be fair. The governor of North Carolina has a lot of explaining to do. Because Biden was ready to send FEMA and the National Guard. And I don't remember what document that guy had to sign to allow it.
Did he turn it down?
No, what he did is he waited like 5 days.
I wonder what that was for.
And then faced a huge amount of pressure and finally got it signed so that Biden could send in the National Guard and FEMA. It was like 5 days after the big flood.
Yeah.
And this is a Democrat governor of North Carolina. Why would you wait? Like DeSantis in Florida, by contrast, before Hurricane Milton hit, had already activated the state's guard. Trump had 275 line workers staying at Mar-a-Lago free.
Yeah, I saw that.
Ready to help. And so by contrast, you have a Republican governor that is preemptive, knowing this hurricane's coming.
And the Democrat
governor of North Carolina delayed. So let's say he didn't know it was going to be that bad. We can say that. That's fair. We didn't know North Carolina was going to get hit the way that it got hit. Let's say he didn't know that. Okay. Why 5 days?
No one's going to hold his feet to the fire to make him explain that either. I think that's one of the biggest things about Republicans. They have fallen into this game of manipulation and lies that it shouldn't be hard. I mean, if I was a politician, when you tell the truth sets everything else free. You know, when you tell the truth, open up for fact checks, but don't go out on TV saying things for political reasons, because anyone can be fact checked and you look dumb at the end of the day. Like, we don't come on this podcast just to lie. If we don't know something, we'll say, hey, we don't know about it. But a lot of politicians, Republicans, Democrats, they state things as facts and it gets them in trouble. For instance, when Donald Trump, do your research. Don't go with the people who are eating dogs. Maybe they are, but you have to have solid, grounded facts before you make a statement like that. If the Republicans I don't think they want a fact check. I think they want the haze in the air, because that's politics. Because if you told the truth, it's simple to narrow down things. And, you know, it would be so beautiful. I wish someone would come out with a podcast with just strictly facts, no matter what side it hurts, just strictly facts, because at the end of the day, facts are the only thing that can set the world free. But I think politics and politicians they want the chaos. They don't want a straightforward, you know, we should know exactly why this guy didn't send the people out for 5 days. It's not that hard, you know, or anything that's going on, smudging numbers. How can you, as a Republican, how can you let them use the technique of a recession? How can you change the definition of a recession? How do you let someone just say, well, it's not one now? You can say anything you want to say. Republicans that do a horrible job of letting Democrats off the hook of lying, just flat out lies.
Well, that's because it's a uniparty.
Yeah.
We've talked about this plenty.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of people that are actually not part of the uniparty, and they get attacked the most.
Yeah. And you're right about that. And I ask myself, why don't they nail them down? Because that's their buddy. They want that. It's like you say, half of them are wishing behind the scenes, oh, we want Kamala because our portfolios will go up with our stock and all of this other stuff. They know it's going to go down with Trump, you know, so. My favorite
Facebook page to rag on, I have a good time with it because people are so delusional. It's called Occupy Democrats. So I'll just leave a comment just to rile people up. It's kind of fun. But because they're so delusional, they have no rational thought. So they posted something about how Trump should be locked up, you know, yada, yada. It was something to the effect that if he's elected, he's going to weaponize the justice system to attack his political opponents. And I said, I didn't even go down the path of that's exactly what they're doing. They're doing right now.
Exactly.
I didn't even go down that path, but that's what they're doing to him right now. I didn't go down that path. What I said is, this is actually a good thing. 90% of Washington politicians should be locked up.
Oh yeah.
For money laundering, for insider stock trading, and a host of other crimes that all of us would be locked up for. And I didn't even get into, you know, sex trafficking and any of that stuff because I don't know that to be true. What I do know to be true is money laundering and insider stock trading.
They just had a clip.
And so I got a bunch of likes on the comment. Then there was a couple people that one of them commented, you mean like Josh Hawley and some of the good ones actually in Washington. I was like, well, that just shows your bias. Yeah. And I didn't even argue the names. I said the number's closer to 90% of the people.
You're 100% right. I think we got a clip of Kamala Harris, how she went over her campaign funding, which was a crime. She should have been locked up, and they let her off the hook.
Yeah, let's watch that clip quick.
She actually began her career in politics by breaking the law. So in San Francisco, if you agreed to cap your raising and spending at $211,000 in 2003, you got a statement published in the voter guide saying that you had voluntarily agreed to confine yourself to that spending cap. You're agreeing not to engage in corruption by raising money from all kinds of unknown sources. So she agreed to that. She filed a piece of paper. She signed it under penalty of perjury saying, I, Kamala Harris, agree to this voluntary spending limit. At the end of the election, she had spent over $600,000. She got the San Francisco Ethics Commission, and by the way, many of those people on the Ethics Commission owed their positions to Willie Brown. The Ethics Commission simply lifted the cap, which is not in the statute. So instead of disqualifying her, which would have been the normal punishment, and prosecuting her, she simply got away with it.
And why did she get away with it?
A favor for a favor.
A favor for a favor. What favor are you speaking of?
Oh, God. She appointed all of those people, and Willie, we don't want to talk
What was her relationship with Willie Brown?
We don't want to talk about Willie Brown.
Why
favors.
can't we talk about that?
We'll talk about BJ's and yeah, she was Willie Brown's little concubine.
Willie Brown, who was married.
Yes.
But was known as a playboy.
Oh, yeah.
And there's this great clip, if you go, anyone chooses to look it up.
Are you his daughter?
It was are you his daughter? And she goes, no. Like real smug, like she got pissed.
Yeah.
And Kamala was 29 years old at that time.
And he was
61.
Yeah. And if Trump was to do something like that, he'd be locked up and prosecuted. And I see so many of my liberal friends and a lot of liberals who really think they're good people. But if I was like the leader of the Ku Klux Klan, the Democratic Party would be my go-to party. So much of their policies, so many of their mentality is based exactly like the Ku Klux Klan.
It's herd mentality.
There's liberals who say, just lock him up. I don't care if they would lock Donald Trump up for life for anything, even if he didn't do something. They feel good about it. So when people look at those Jim Crow days when you had stacked juries against like a black man back then, it's the same thing if you're a liberal and you see your political opponent. They have the same mentality. And it's just, I go through some of these like well-off neighborhoods and I see their signs, Harrison Walsh and all of this stuff like that. They've never lived next to a minority in their lives. And if their neighborhoods became a few black families or Hispanic families moved in, they'd be ready to move out. But they feel good about it to say, hey, we're voting for the black woman, you know?
Actually, we still got to throw that party with the old football team and scare the white liberals in my neighborhood.
There you go. Let's do it. Play some rap music in the whole nine.
That would be hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Man, but so, you know, I've actually used this with some liberal friends. You know how I know for a fact Trump isn't on the Epstein list?
It would have been out by now.
It would have been out. They would have used that 100% against him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they've attacked him on every different level so far. So, like, this is the most scrutinized and looked at person on planet Earth right now. The dude doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. Like, the worst thing he does is eat too much McDonald's.
And bang porn stars.
In his previous days.
Right.
Which, again, isn't a crime. No. So the point being that, so Kamala in this clip should have been charged.
Yes.
And didn't get charged.
Democrats don't get charged. I mean, Democrats are they're the new KKK. I hate to say it that way. They are the new KKK. Democrats can do anything and get away with it. Like Hillary Clinton. They said any reasonable prosecutor, I can't even get that word out right now, would not charge her. That's not what prosecutors do. They don't say, we don't charge. Look at Joe Biden and his stealing his records and the files and stuff like that. They said he's too old to be prosecuted. Are you kidding me? So only Republicans can be prosecuted. That's crazy. Look at the difference of how they raided Trump's house. They told Hillary, bring us the stuff. What type of raid is that? Could you imagine?
After she smashed all her computers?
And that was just a smokescreen to trick the American public, because we know we can go to the cloud and get all the records.
Yeah.
And they just said, just say you smashed them. That way we can say we can't find them, So.
Well, it's interesting
Tiered.
that you talk, it's absolutely tiered. But this Kamala example, I want to really highlight, because when we say that 90% of Washington is dirty, this is the exact example we're talking about.
That's perfect.
They look out for their own.
Mm-hmm.
They do all this dirty stuff.
As long as you play ball.
As long as you play ball. Like that person that was actually prosecuted in New York, he started not to play ball. Eric Adams.
He spoke out.
Eric Adams started speaking out
immigration.
against immigration because it was ruining the black communities in New York City.
All of a sudden,
and all of a sudden, he's got a charge.
Yep.
As soon as you leave the plantation, like you talked about, or try to get off the plantation, they come after you.
Or financially, like Kanye West. He says anything and support Trump, get him. You could be Snoop Dogg. Attempted murder trials, double homicide trials, smoke weed all day. I had nothing against smoking weed, but Snoop Dogg was known as a thug until he started saying F Donald Trump. Now he's everyone's darling. He's on the set getting high for everything. He's at the Olympics, and he's on The Voice. He's on this. He's America's darling because he doesn't like Trump. Could you imagine Snoop Dogg? If he supported Trump, they'd be trying to lock him up.
Yeah. Did I tell you about when I went to the Snoop concert?
Did you get high from the crowd, from a contact?
Actually, it was one of the most diverse crowds I've ever been in. It was pretty awesome. Everyone loves Snoop, his music anyhow. And but it's interesting, we're in Wisconsin. It's not legal. He's smoking on stage.
Oh, Snoop don't care.
Everyone's smoking in the crowd.
Snoop don't care.
Right? So it's interesting that you talk about that. It's like the cops were there.
Yeah.
They could have busted anyone.
On stage, lighting up, huh?
Yeah.
Shout out to old Snoop D-O-double-G.
So that was at Potawatomi. They built an outdoor area.
Pretty packed.
It was great. It was a great show, great time. But yeah, as you talk about that, it's interesting because it's not legal here in Wisconsin.
Wow. That's amazing.
So anyhow, let's talk about the dichotomy between the two candidates. Do you know that Harris didn't start voting until she was age 29?
Didn't know that.
She registered at age 29.
She probably was too busy working at McDonald's, carrying her Glock.
I grew up in a middle-class family.
I worked at McDonald's. If Trump was to say that, they would have fact-checked that. Republicans don't fact-check. I doubt if she worked at McDonald's. She could have. But if that was a Republican saying something like that, they would have looked at which one she worked at, and they would have came back and like, she didn't work there. Just like when they put her on the spot. What type of
I think
gun?
someone did fact-check it, and she did not work there.
She can get away with saying whatever she wanted to say.
So that's exactly right. So she's talked about being very politically active from a very young age, but yet didn't register to vote till she was 29.
And that's something. She can say what she wants to say because, like I said, once again, Republicans don't fact check. She's got an interview coming up with Fox. They're gonna go easy on her. They don't want to look bad. And Fox isn't right wing at all. Controlled opposition, and Brett Huer, he's gonna go easy on her. I mean, there's so many questions. Hume.
It's like Britt Hume.
He's gonna go easy on her.
Is that not the whitest name you've ever heard?
I got a
Britt Hume.
I grew up with a couple buddies named Britt Hume in the hood. No. No, but I think
what was their street name?
Well, they say if you want to find someone's street name, you ask them the color of the shirt they're wearing and the last food they ate. So I would be a great Big Mac. I'd be great chicken Big Mac today. I tried a chicken Big Mac. That's a tough name. What would your
hold
name
on.
be?
How'd you get your street name though?
Oh, I had a little egghead, and they just called me Egg
Yolks.
Yolks. Yeah. But yeah, they say the color of your shirt and the last food you ate will be your street name.
thought it was your first. No, that was maybe your porn star name.
Yeah, that's
your first pet's name and the street you grew up on.
Oh God.
So mine would be Sonny Winsona, which is not a bad porn name. because we had a yellow cockatiel was our first pet. So his name was Sonny.
Oh man, I never had a pet, so mine would be just Simpson Street. So yeah.
You did grow up in the hood.
Yeah, Simpson Street in Somerset. I'm a hood baby.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so the other pieces on Kamala that she's talked about often is her career as a prosecutor. What do you know about that?
Well, first of all, I knew she kept lower level criminals, especially nonviolent marijuana offenders, and they came to her and was like, some people came to her and said, we should let these guys out early release. She said, no, we can use them for the workforce. She even wanted them to put out forest fires out in San Francisco. And I think the most heinous thing that she did was she knew a guy was innocent from, he was charged with murder and rape of his own daughter. His DNA cleared him, and he was looking at like life in prison. And they had to sue her to let the evidence come in that exonerated him. She said it came in too late. So she knew the guy was innocent, but she wanted him to go to jail for life anyway. That's cold-blooded. That's terrible. Yeah.
For political gain.
Mm-hmm. To be tough on criminals. Yep.
Now, you know what's interesting about what you just said, though, is I think the number was like 1,900 low-level criminals, marijuana, petty deals, that were locked up for longer than they should have been.
Yeah, that's under her watch.
Under her watch.
She said
now she wants to get a federal legalization of weed after she
locked guys up for low-level
to keep them in the
crime.
workforce.
And, you know, Joe Biden flirted with, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden locked up more black men than anyone in politics. People don't know that. And Joe Biden wanted to act like he wanted to do something about marijuana offenses, but he said only federal offenders can get this program that he was trying to push forward. And they don't charge low-level marijuana offenses on the federal side. So it wouldn't have helped anybody out but like 40 people. If he was going to do that, now I would give him credit if he would have did that for state offenders, but he knew he wasn't going to do that. And you don't hear Democrats talking about anything about prison reform, while they try to say Trump is the racist. And Trump is the only one who did something about it. Obama didn't do anything. He lowered it from 18 to 1, but you still had mandatory minimum. So it looks good. Oh, I lowered it. It used to be 100 to 1. You get caught with 1 gram of rock cocaine, you get charged with 100 grams. So Obama moved it from 100 to 18, but it still had a mandatory minimum. So if you got caught with that, you still were doing the same amount of time. It just looked like he did something. He didn't do anything. Donald Trump got rid of the mandatory minimums, which brought a lot of black men home, and they came home talking about F Donald Trump.
You know what's interesting about this is something that doesn't get talked about enough, and I want to hit on a bunch of different topics with it, but you don't hear the left talking about prison reform.
No.
You don't hear the left talking about making America healthy again, and they wouldn't say it that way, but you don't hear them talking about the poison in our food, the poison in our water at all.
You know, and then to keep it real, the right doesn't talk about that much either, other than Donald Trump. You know?
Well, that's correct, because they're all getting paid by these lobbyists. Like we said, there's 90% of them or more that are in on it, right? So that's where you got RFK Jr. really calling them all out, and why he's adjoined with Trump is to actually get the poison out of our food, because this poison isn't allowed in Europe. It's not allowed in Canada.
That's terrible too, Josh. That is sick. They're sitting back willing to watch Americans die, and European countries are just laughing at us like, what type of country? Why would you want to live in America other than being an immigrant? Because those are the only ones getting treated right. You know, you get better health care if you're an immigrant. You get better vouchers for rent if you're an immigrant. You get
illegal immigrant, not the ones that actually come here properly.
That's what I meant. Exactly. So, I mean, look at what goes on when a natural disaster happens here and a manufactured war over in Europe. You get way more money over in Europe and Ukraine, and we want to give Americans $750. That's insane.
Hold on, it's not a gift. When they get their insurance money, they have to pay the $750 back. Did you know that?
Slap me 2 times and say I ran into a fan. Are you kidding me? You have to give it back.
That comment was better than your dad joke.
You got to be kidding me, man. I did not know that.
Oh, it's a loan.
Oh, my God.
If you get insurance money, you have to pay the $750 back.
Wow. I would have wished that hurricane blew me to Mexico so I could have walked back over here. I would have got treated right.
You'd have gotten $13K on an EBT card.
Yes. That's wow. I did not know that. Wow. It's America. America.
So what was the other thing I had in my mind that they're not even talking about? It'll come to me. But it's just interesting. They're not even addressing those. They talk about abortion and how bad Donald Trump is.
That's it. That's what they
And isn't it interesting that abortion only comes up every 4 years?
4 years. For 4 years. And the thing with abortion to me is like, you've lost your moral compass when abortion is something that's good. You know, any human with a heart should be like, I'm not for abortion. You know, I understand. Like I said, I'm abortion tolerant, but that's nothing you want to push on your kids. You know, life goes on with reproducing kids, you know, and without pregnancies and generations of reproducing, we're going to be extinct. Abortion should never be a good thing unless it's an emergency. You know, I'd rather see somebody, but I always tell people this. I've been through this. And you can think whatever you want to think, and I could be totally wrong. But I know in my personal life, God will get you. God will get you. I wanted a boy so bad. God was like, oh, no, you're not having a boy. Should have thought about that. We don't know when you went to that abortion clinic, we may have taken your scientist, your Michael Jordan, just a good human, you know? And I got to live with that the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think God has a way of getting, so you can root for that all you want. You can root for all that all you want. It's like abusing your body. Someone can tell you you should exercise and this, it's going to catch up with you one day, you know? So.
You know what's interesting about that too is, so they keep trying to say Trump's for getting rid of all, you know, abortion, including incest, rape. And he said it multiple times from his mouth that that is not what he stands for. Yet, when he says Project 2025, I have nothing to do with, that is not my plan. My plan is Agenda 47. They say he's lying about that,
Yeah.
but not lying about this.
Telling the truth about
You
this.
know, or
but
telling
he's
the
like-
truth.
So they pick and choose.
Yeah.
They pick and choose. And that's another thing with Republicans. They let but like you say, they're all working together. But, you know, getting caught up in being affiliated or letting people affiliate you with something that you have nothing to do with, you know, they're not taking it as serious as far as, you're not going to get on TV in these ads and lie on me. I'm going to take you to court and sue, you know, and there's no threat of Republicans suing, you know, for slander or anything like that. They can't, you know, you can't just make up a TV ad and say he was once part of the KKK. That's slander, you know, you can't do that. And they're just linking him to this group that he has nothing to do with. And they just accept it, you know? So Republicans need to do a better job. But this uniparty thing, you never know what's going on with the uniparty. They're all in cahoots. It's just
Shenanigans. I just expect a shenanigans at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I just expect them to suck at doing anything appropriate or the right thing, like this response to these hurricanes.
Yeah.
Not going to expect them to do the right thing.
It becomes
What I do expect, and what is awesome to see, is hardworking Americans taking time. My buddy Jonathan takes off from Northern Indiana. He runs a great manufacturing business. And he felt compelled in his heart that he had to go help.
Mm-hmm.
He fills up a trailer with 2 pallets of water, and he loads up his skid steer and drives it down to North Carolina just because he felt like he needed to help.
That's a real man.
And there was hundreds, if not thousands, of those real men that did the exact same thing from across the country and went to help.
That's real. That's real. And if every American had that mentality, we would be able to fix problems a lot quicker. You know, could you imagine just, regardless of party lines, if people came together and said, let's pitch in? There's a lot of selfish people who refuse to do that because it's all about, we live in this age of me, 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 me. It's all about me, 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 and my team winning. And I don't care how bad things are for me, but I'm not going to let that guy over there win, even if he makes life better for me.
Yeah.
It's the mentality.
It's dumb, but the last point I wanted to make with that piece, like with Jonathan or any of those guys that went down, those are supposedly the toxic masculine men.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are actually helping and saving lives.
Yeah.
And bringing people hope that were stranded and left alone and left to die by their own government. Those toxic masculine men were the ones that lifted them up.
If you really look at it, the left has sank so low to the abyss that they call a person who's against abortion, who puts America first, weirdos. And they root for the people who say, put tampons in a men's bathroom, men can menstruate, men can be pregnant, and men should be able to go whack a girl or body slam her in wrestling or beat her on a racetrack, and that's the norm. Those are the normal people.
So I've been thinking about that tampon thing. You're absolutely right. It's crazy where people's minds have gone to on the left. But I was thinking about that tampon thing is, no, they can't menstruate, but they probably got some wounds from hacking their dick off. So they may need some tampons.
Some gauze.
Some gauze.
That's what you would call the gauze.
Gauze.
The gauze strip right there.
The gauze strip.
That's a holy war.
Yo, you ever seen some of the images of sex transition?
No.
Bro, don't look.
I would never
don't look.
See that.
Then they hide it. Yeah. They hide it. It is gruesome.
Yeah.
But I saw some images I wish I didn't see.
Yeah.
But that's what made me start thinking about Tampon Tim. I was like, well, maybe he's onto something. They can't menstruate, but they probably are bleeding from the hack job that just got done on them.
That just sounds painful and just, ugh.
It's insane.
It's a lot been coming out about him. See, I don't just take a story and run with it, but I've been seeing some crazy stuff about him as far as when he was like a coach and a teacher and grooming little boys.
No, the Black Insurrectionist talked about it.
Yeah.
So we don't know this to be fact, but the Black Insurrectionist on Twitter, if you follow him, he typically spits facts. Like, he is well researched. And there's an accuser of Tim Walz when he was in that high school. And the reason he was dismissed from that high school, it wasn't a voluntary leave. The school board voted 6-0 that he should be removed.
Yep.
So these are all facts. You can look them up. Yep. There's an accuser out there right now that gave the Black Insurrectionists, I don't know his real name. That's what he goes by on Twitter. But anyhow, so I'm just going to say.
I like him.
So he has all the documentation of this accuser that he was 14 years old and sexually abused. Like, he's this now adult, but at that time a child, has identified specific tattoos, birthmarks, scars that you would only see on a person as if you were naked with them.
And they say he had receipts. They say Tim took him to the Indigo Girls concert, and you know what they were all about.
And that was the night that Tim got his DUI.
Yep. But they can cover that up because Republicans could care less about that. It's just crazy how, I hate to bash the Democrats, but they've been doing so much damage. They believe anyone that says anything about a Republican, me too, believe. But as soon as someone says something about a Democrat, as far as Kamala's husband or whatever, they're lying. They're lying. He didn't put his hands on her, and and they cover it up so much. I don't think they vented Tim Walz. I don't think vented. Same thing to me. Let the air out. But they did not vet him the right way. There's so many things that he's probably got in his closet. Probably
including himself.
And some lingerie.
Including himself in that closet. But yeah.
I heard about that this morning, though. That's amazing that you said everything that you just said. I heard about it. I think they should get to the bottom of that too.
I think it's coming out as we speak, and it's going to be a big problem for them in that campaign.
You know how much of a bombshell that would be if they can back all of that.
Well, and if you're thinking about the Me Too movement, believe all accusers.
And if they're Democrats.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Wrong side.
But don't believe it if a Republican. Well, just if they accuse a Democrat, they just sweep it under the rug. That's crazy.
All right,
this is interesting.
Last thing on Kamala before we get to Trump's side. The code switching.
Oh my God. That lady,
talk about that.
She can
So tell the audience, for let's say there's some white folks like me that don't know what code switching, even though I know what it is. But what's code switching?
Depending on what crowd she's in, she gets around a black crowd, she'll get to talking about, I pick my greens and I wash my greens in the. It's almost like when Hillary says she keep hot sauce in her purse. Are you kidding me? Who the hell keeps hot sauce in their purse? And whatever crowd Kamala's at, you can hear her voice changing. And she's blacker than black when she's at a HBCU giving a speech, or if she's speaking in front of Hispanics, now she's talking about, I used to, rolling her tongue. And if she's around a white crowd, she's proper and prim, but that's just, she's a chameleon.
All right, so let's roll that video.
How did she pronounce her first name? She's on video pronouncing it Kamala and Kamala, 2 different ways.
I remember her putting the emphasis on the second syllable, so it was like Kamala.
Kamala.
Kamala was how she pronounced it.
Not Kamala.
Kamala is actually how Indians pronounce it. She's from a Brahmin family. Her mother is Brahmin, and so, high caste
Brahmin.
background.
I thought she was oppressed.
She's a shapeshifter, like I said.
How weird that is.
Kamala.
Well, it's funny that you get into it as well as people have heard these clips. And like you said, she goes from having a Latina accent to having a more urban accent to Southern,
whatever
to when she's in front of Pennsylvania steel workers or coal miners, she goes straight white.
She's a shapeshifter. I saw Obama the other day. He Tupac 2.0 now. He thugged out. He going hard. I'm like,
What did he
wow.
say?
Oh, he was telling the crowd and he was telling the brothers, you can't vote for. He's militant right now. And he used to be mild-mannered.
What can't you vote for?
Oh, you cannot vote. If you're a black man, you cannot vote for Donald Trump. Or could you imagine? Hold on. First of all, could you imagine if Donald Trump got on TV and said you have to vote for a white person? It would be over. It would be over for him. They would not forgive him. But Barack Obama can go on TV and go talk to a black crowd and say, you have to vote for the black person. You have to vote for the Democratic woman, and they won't do that to any other group. Kamala, she's Indian. He won't go to Indian men and say, you have to go vote for an Indian woman. It's only the slave mentality, black people, that has to stay on the plantation.
Remember what Joe Biden said in 2020.
If you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
That's right.
Could you imagine if Trump said that?
And that was a white dude that said it.
Because they look at the black voting bloc as slaves. And I mean, if you really look at it, why wouldn't they? They've been a slave to the Democratic Party for 80 years. So why would things change? They don't think a black man like me has independent of thought. I look at gas prices. I don't look at colors. I look at when I go to the grocery store. I'm against war. I like someone who controls the border security. I'm not looking at it from a black man's eyes. I'm looking at it from an American eye. I want to see black kids do better in school. I see my neighborhood being, I'm not going to say taken over or dominated, but I see the people that I grew up are coming into like a smaller circle. And the people that are coming over here illegally, they're just expanding. I ask anybody, show me one black grocery store in Wisconsin. Show me a black restaurant up here. Show me a black-owned business up here. And if they ask me the other way around, you ask me, Hispanic, I love the Hispanic. They are doing their thing. Their restaurants popping up every day. They have grocery stores. They have
cleaning companies.
Yes, they have everything.
They dominate the landscape space.
In white America, you're going to get a rude awakening too. You go to these schools. Hispanics don't mess around, man. They are doing really, really good. And they stick together. And the Democrats cannot put that voodoo on them. You can't trick them into killing their babies.
And they're largely Catholic.
Just look at, could you imagine? Blacks want someone to fish for them. I'm not speaking for all blacks. We want someone to fish for us. We've been taught, don't learn a trade, don't learn a skill. The Hispanics don't listen to that. I see them at the housing auctions. When a house is being auctioned off, they're out in the front yard. They're bidding together. They're saying, hey, we're going to low bid, and then you got the roofing company, you got the flooring company, you could do the drywalling. Let's fix this up, give it to a Hispanic family. They would move on to the next, and the next thing you know, we own this whole beautiful neighborhood. We're not trashing it up. We keep our lawns manicured. If you have a problem, plumbing, we got the skill set. If your roof is going in, what Black America gonna do? You got to call the Hispanic company. You might not have the money to do it. We don't stick together. And the whites the same way. We are neglecting trade schools. They took trade schools out of the schools and they promised these cushy college careers that don't mount to anything, And these people, you gotta have a skill set where plumbing, electricians, roofing, all of that stuff, landscaping. You're going to need that forever, you know? And that's why they're so prosperous. And it's just facts. It's facts. We'll look up in about 8 years, they'll be like, he was right. He was right.
Yeah.
He was right.
All right, so let's talk about your boy Trump for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Let's switch it up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we talked about this a little bit with how RFK and Tulsi have joined forces there. The coalition and collaboration is really on that side. The only Republicans that have endorsed Kamala are warmongers.
All of them.
They have no other agenda other than to enrich through war.
All the generals and all the warmongers love her. They love her.
And so it's a reasonable thought to go, why? And the only conclusion that you can come to is that that's going to keep their pockets lined through war.
The no-brainer. And I think the biggest fear for those guys is they know. If Trump, and I tell people this, I'm so serious. If Trump can cross that finish line, a lot of people know they're done.
Yeah.
He'll let out the Epstein stuff. They already threatened him into not letting out the Kennedy files. I don't know what they told him, but he backed up. He wanted to let those Kennedy files out, but he didn't do it in his first term.
Yeah, agreed.
And I don't know.
And now he promised RFK that he would.
Yeah, and that's another thing they're scared of. The Epstein files. It's just so many secrets. They're afraid of him unlocking Pandora's box. But
and that's why they're going so hard on him. And again, allegedly, you know, we don't know who was behind the attempted assassinations multiple times. They just caught another person outside California.
I think that was smoke and mirrors. I think the guy that they caught in California was just a scapegoat to make the public think that general people are coming after him. So in case they do knock him off.
Well, whether they do or don't, what I'm saying is that, like, they want him dead.
Yes, of course.
Because they know that it's going to be bad for them if they get in. And that's why I said to that post on Occupy Democrats is like, no, we want these people exposed.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of us want them prosecuted. We want them held responsible because they've been screwing us over for years, using our tax money to enrich themselves and enrich other politicians around the world and make us poor and life harder on us. I want them in jail. I want them in the wood chipper. People,
but they have convinced the left to legitimize, and they're the heroes of the left. The deep state, the left love the deep state now. They love the deep state. They think the FBI, the CIA, and they think they can't do any wrong. I've never thought that the ACLU has changed to, they used to care, they didn't care even if Nazis, they fought for all civil rights. Now they're all left. They're all left. You can take all of his civil liberties if you're Trump or you're a Republican. So they've done a great job of reinventing themselves. And if Trump can get him across that finish line, they are very fearful of him. They know he's stopping that Ukraine war right away. He's going to talk to Vladimir. Listen, let's sit down. And they are terrified of that. He's going to go over in the Middle East and say, listen, enough is enough.
You know what it'll do?
Here.
Because it'll expose the war crimes of Europe and us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it'll do, and that's what they're terrified of, because Zelensky's been laundering money and blowing nose candy up his nose and buying his wife a Bugatti. Mm-hmm. And, right, we talked about that on this show. And we have receipts for that.
And all of his people have their pensions paid off and everything's paid off through the American dollar. That's why he wants the war prolonged, because he can keep getting welfare from us.
That's right. So they know that'll end. And it's not because he's Putin's puppet. It's literally because Putin has either respect for him or fear. One of the two, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know to be sure. It's either respect or fear. And either way, the job gets done.
Mm-hmm.
And so Trump has done well with President Xi, with Putin, with Kim Jong-un, whichever one it is. Whichever Kim Jong it is now. And they have a respect or fear of him, which they do not have of the current administration.
And I think Trump is giving a middle finger because he doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the portfolio and the Lockheed Martin and all of these military industrial complex people. He doesn't need the money. He cares about the people more. But us just saying this is like we're speaking a foreign language to liberal Americans. They don't get it, and they don't want to get it. They're probably looking at us like, oh, they're just talking a lot of mess.
Well, that's a good point, because this dude was universally liked.
Mm-hmm.
prior to running for president.
Oh, he was loved by the hip hop community. Blacks loved him.
They talked about him in every song.
Mm-hmm.
So why would a dude that's got everything he wants decide to ruin his likability, ruin his wealth has gone down because he's spent a lot of his own money to campaign and fly his jet around because he doesn't have Air Force One or two to fly around in.
Yeah, he loves America. And
they haven't even thought that through. Like, why? They think it's about power or ego. Like, no. If ego was truly it, you would have stayed in the likable category.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at least 50% of people have learned through the media to hate him.
But one good thing that's coming out of this is, I got to give it to black men are waking up. Black men are not riding this Kamala train, and the Democratic Party, they are up in arms because black men have had enough. They see what's going on. You know, black women are more emotional, and they feel something with Kamala. And it's so sad that they watch their sons get killed every day, and they still drink the Kool-Aid, you know, and they don't even look at the part of like media, YouTube. You can't say kill on YouTube or stuff like that. Unalive. They have to say unalive. But it's designed so wickedly that you can have hip hop videos with guns talking about kill that N-word every day. They don't shut that down. But if you say something on a political level and you drop N-bombs and stuff like that, YouTube will take you down right away, you know? But they allow young black men continuing a internal genocide, you know, and they don't care about that because it's almost designed that way. It's sad. It is sad. But black men are waking up. They're on the Donald Trump train, and liberals are terrified.
So thinking about RFK, again, Trump's side is the only ones talking about big pharma, the money in it, the poison in our food.
We need RFK big time.
But you see the left just completely abandon him because he chose to the other side. Because again, what happened? They did to him what they did to Bernie. They didn't allow him to be a viable candidate. They chose Kamala instead of allowing him to run against her. So it wasn't like he just said, I'm out, because he's been a lifelong Democrat.
But when they thought it was going to affect Donald Trump, they wanted him to be able to run. When they thought it could help her out, they were trying to push for leaving him on ballots.
But that's what Democrats aren't putting. The Democrats really suck at putting lines together, connecting dots. They don't even think or don't even have a thought process through the Democrat National Committee screwed over RFK, and therefore he had to leave. It wasn't that he just abandoned.
Yeah.
He's a lifelong Democrat. He didn't want to leave.
No, they forced him out.
He was gaining popularity. He would have been likely the choice if they had allowed a vote to happen. And they chose to handpluck Kamala without her receiving a single vote and screw him over. And then he left.
I don't think we would even be in the situation we're in right now if Bernie had some balls. Bernie was the type, you slap him, he'll say, oh, thank you. If he would have told them, you screw, it was in the emails, let's screw Bernie. Bernie's Jewish, and they made him anti-Semitic. They told him, you know, we screwed you. He found out that they rigged everything against him, and he continued to support him. That's not a man.
Spineless.
That is spineless. That's worse.
Well, it's a beta male.
That's worse. That's the worst you can get. If he would have stood up against him and ran as the independent he's supposed to be, the Democrats would be in a lot of trouble.
See, that's the difference between RFK and
he said, screw you.
And Bernie, though.
Yeah.
You got RFK, who's definitely on some testosterone replacement.
Like, screw you.
And Bernie, who's the beta male that couldn't pull up his balls and actually do something about getting screwed over.
I was a Bernie guy at first, but to see, because he put in the work. He was at the civil rights stand-ins and stuff like that, unlike Biden, you know. He was against the 94 crime bill, unlike Biden. But then for him to just fold and continue and go along with the Democratic hate machine, I lost all respect for him. All respect for him.
Yeah. So Let's talk about the abortion thing real quick.
Yeah.
Because, again, Democrats and Kamala keep putting out there that Republicans want to ban it essentially entirely. Roe v. Wade, they want to restore it, where it was always meant to be in the states. That's where it got to.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that, from the Black community standpoint, do most Black people know why abortion was started?
No.
How do they not know that Margaret Sanger was
the lady that started
Margaret
Planned
Sanger.
Parenthood wanted to use it as a genocidal thing and a sterilization of Black women. And you notice all the Planned Parenthoods were in Black communities. They're not out in the suburbs and stuff like that. But what they do is they find a prominent Black person to push their evil agendas, from the Obamas, from the Oprahs, for any Black athlete. If you stand up against that machine, they know the power of a dollar. They will get you out of whatever sport you're in or whatever. Like, could you imagine a prominent Black actor or Black musician to support Donald Trump? Your sales are gonna plummet. No one's gonna promote you. You won't get any concerts. You won't get any callbacks for TV shows. All you have to do is like the Democratic Party, like a Snoop Dogg or Megan Thee Stallion, and you become a rock star. Puffy was the same way. They loved Puffy until you start messing with people money. BlackRock, they owned Ciroc. Once he sued Ciroc, he wasn't a rock. Remember, he used to have Rock to Vote? He was all for the Democratic Party. They loved him then. But you start messing with the people money?
Hold up. Most people don't know what you just said.
Yeah.
Tell the BlackRock Ciroc thing.
He sued Ciroc and won a lawsuit against them because he went to these agave plants where they grow agave out in Mexico, and he had his own company called De Leon, and they promised him, oh, we'll get you started. And then when he was like, what about my company? They were like, we don't have enough agave plants. He went out there and found that they were plentiful. He sued them. He won. Next thing you know, he was arrested. And they're really not telling you what he's arrested for. It has something to do with that liquor, not about him being a freak. There's no crime about being a freak and buying thousands of dollars of baby oil.
That wasn't baby oil. That was GHB. You know that.
I didn't know that. In those thousands of bottles.
Why would you need thousands of bottles of baby oil?
You wouldn't. I didn't come out yet that it was GHB. Now, if that was GHB, get them on that.
GHB.
Oh.
You know, the clear drug.
I didn't know about that. That's what it was. Everyone was saying it was baby oil.
Yeah, the media was.
Yeah.
But so do you think about that? So everyone that's been to those parties that, who's that female singer? Jaguar, right?
Jaguar Wright.
Yeah. She's been loud about this for a long time.
Yeah.
So unlike the people that are coming out against him now, I'd rather listen to her, who's been against him for a long time, telling the truth.
She's not on the bandwagon.
And she's been talking about it, right? Because people feeling not themselves at the parties, stuff of that nature. It's the GHB that would make you feel not that way, right? So, but bottom line is, to your point, most people haven't connected the dots. Like, you got to follow the money. So Puffy, the reason he got exposed, because they have leverage on all these people, right? They're not just pedophiles. They're not just this or that. They are leveraged. Epstein was leveraged, and he was leveraging others.
Yep.
Diddy was leveraged, and he was leveraging others.
Yep.
Right? And they use that. As long as you stay on the plantation, to use your words, then as long as you're part of the club,
you're good.
You're good, and you're going to make lots and lots of money.
Get out of line.
You step out of line, and now you're going to get buried.
Yes. Yep. He's finding out. And the funny thing about it was he was pushing for the Democratic Party and rooting when Trump got them fake charges put against him. And all of those laws that they changed are coming back to haunt him. That's wild. That is wild.
So, man, I want to wrap it up with this. Let's play that clip of Bill Clinton screwing up.
That almost made me choke. Old Billy boy.
You had a case in Georgia not very long ago, didn't you? They made an ad about a young woman who'd been killed by an immigrant. Yeah, well, if they'd all been properly vetted, that probably wouldn't have happened. But if they're all properly vetted, and that doesn't happen, and America is not having enough babies to keep our populations up. So we need immigrants that have been vetted to do work. There wouldn't be a problem. And he couldn't keep people all torn up and upset.
Wow.
So he said a couple different things in there, right? So while wearing a camo Harris Walls hat, he throws Harris and Biden under the bus by saying, had this immigrant been properly vetted, Laken Riley would still be alive today.
Exactly.
So he says that. But then he also goes on to say that if we were actually having babies to keep our population up, we wouldn't need the immigrants.
Yeah.
So he made a couple different interesting statements there.
He said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
He really did.
So going back to your point on the abortion thing, right? So you got one side or one community essentially
rooting on depopulation.
Yeah. Well, and even in the Black communities, a lot of abortion. I think that's the highest percentage. I don't know the percentage off the top of my head.
It is.
So you have one segment of our population, the Black community, having highest percentage abortions, and then we have immigrants coming to the country. To your point, in the schools, the Hispanic population is going to grow and grow and grow.
It's growing, yeah.
And those married couples in the Hispanic community have lots of kids.
They don't believe in abortion at all.
Right, because they're Catholic.
They don't believe in divorce or none of that stuff. They don't believe in none of it. And I tip my hat to them, 100%. Salute,
The vast majority are Catholic and staunch at that. And so it's interesting. It's an interesting dichotomy we have at play right now. But the pulpit, and then you have you talk about the white population in our country, the Gen Zers and whatever's coming behind that, not having as many babies or not wanting kids at all.
They want to travel.
Here's the thing is, y'all want to travel, who's going to fund your Social Security? If you don't have enough population behind you, you better be saving money. I'll tell you that much. You better be investing money.
Yeah.
Because Social Security won't be around for you because you won't have enough kids and population behind you to fund it.
It's going to dry up.
Because here's the thing. Because remember, I was a finance guy, so I know this about Social Security. The first generation to receive Social Security paid nothing into it. So therefore, it's always been a generation behind. And counting on the next generation to fund the generation that's retiring now.
That's pretty simple mathematics. If you don't have enough people in your workforce as far as funding the next group of people for Social Security, you're lost in the sauce. You're lost in the sauce, buddy.
So people got to really think about this at a much deeper level.
Yeah.
And think about, we talked about this, I think, on the last one, but, 38% of liberal white women are voting because of abortion. That's their thing. You're not thinking about the economy, immigration, crime rates through the roof.
They don't care about none of it. These people vote to feel good. That's what they could care less. They believe they're lion eyes. They vote to feel good. I feel good. And a lot of them, fortunately, have enough money where the gas prices and the food don't affect them. They have these middle-class houses and stuff. But once these property taxes and stuff go up and hit them in the pocket, or just one flick of an eye, they lose one of their jobs, it's a different story.
Well, not only that, but then how selfish that is. You're not thinking about your kids.
No.
Because the young population right now that's coming out trying to buy a house can't buy a house.
No, they could care less. They could care less. It's all about them right now. And you're right about that. I look at housing market, there's no houses to buy. I remember during the pandemic, if a house came on the market, people were lined up around the block.
Yeah.
And they're not building houses anywhere. It's hard to get the materials and stuff like that. So we're going to have a major housing crisis in a minute. So we'll see.
It's going to be interesting. So the decision in my mind is clear. Like, I didn't vote for Trump the first time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to vote for him this time.
Oh, I'm all in.
And it's not because I think he's the best leader I've ever seen. I've had a lot of things to say about him that I would say don't align personally with my leadership values. But the choice is clear. Like, we're either going to become a communist nation, or we're going to have one that actually pushes back against this government political tyrant class that we got going on.
Yeah. I think Trump, to me, the greatest president of all time. That's just my personal opinion. I just wish he was savvy enough to be able to play chess where you can't get pinned down. Things you say, knowing how to articulate in certain situations and taking it very serious to where you can't play identity politics when you're great. When you're a great president like him, you got to let the record reflect. Speak the truth, speak from the heart, and know what you are capable of doing. You don't have to, like going saying they're eating. You don't have to do all that. Just let your record reflect. Don't let anyone pin you down. If you know there's a speed trap down the street, I'm not going to come out of this compound and speed down that way. I'm going to go cautiously where you can't get me in trouble. I'm going to think about what I'm doing. Trump likes to speed down roads sometimes knowing what they're going to do. And Republicans falling into that trap all the time because they get these Harvard degrees and stuff like that, and they forget what common sense is sometimes. Like as smart as J.D. Vance is, they'll get on, you'll go to Face the Nation. They're going to say, did Trump lose the last election? All you have to do is say, we live in a democracy. Of course he lost. But in my heart, I don't think he lost fair and square. You see, we vacated the property, so he lost. But that doesn't mean that they didn't cheat, voting harvesting and all of that other stuff. All you got to do is say, yeah, he lost, but they want to get you with that got you moment. Mm-hmm. And they fall into that all the time. He lost, but I don't think he lost fair and square. Did Hillary lose? She lost, but she don't think she lost fair and square. She thought the Russians did something about it.
Did Gore lose?
The hanging Chad,
He didn't think he lost fair and square.
He lost. And since when did denying or disputing an election become a crime? Only the Democrats can say you're an election denier while doing election denying. You got to flip it on them sometime. And Republicans have to get better at flipping it on them. And it is what it is. I just wish we had something so solid where you cannot get away with lying anymore. But I think it's designed to lie.
Yeah.
It's almost like religion. If you dispute something in the Bible, they got to counter. Did the snake talk? Did they bite the apple? Did he walk on water? They'll say, yeah, you didn't see it though, but I know it happened. You don't know what happened in the Bible.
You believe it happened.
You believe it happened. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Well, here's my wish for everyone. And know this, that regardless of who wins, God's still in control.
Yeah.
My wish is that all of you go out and vote. That's our one thing that we can control. Right? We can control our actions. We can't control if they cheat. We can't control if what the outcome is. We can control our actions to go out and vote. And bring your friends with you. And if you want to volunteer to make sure the vote isn't stolen at the voting places, then do that. Those are the things you can control. Outside of that, there's not a ton you can control in this. You can pray, for whatever your outcome that you think you want to have is. But there's very little we can control, and we know that there's a much higher power than us that is in control. So my hope is that you vote. My hope is that you pray, that you're peaceful with whatever outcome, and know and trust that God has a bigger plan than us.
I think my thing is, I think people have buyer's remorse. They want a rematch. They want to rewrite history. And this is the thing about the left and the liberals. I had 4 years of Trump. I want 4 more years of Trump. See, I don't believe my lying eyes. And Democrats want to have a clean slate to get a chance as a rematch to beat you. They lost already because Trump voters had 4 years of Trump. Things were great for them. Things were good for them. The economy was good. Life was good. Liberals know they had 4 years of Biden and Harris. They know it hasn't been good. So this election is so important to them because if Trump gets back in and give you 4 more good years, your debate is over with. But they're banking on, if we can just give Kamala 4 more years to turn it around, and then we can rewrite history.
Turn what around? She said she wouldn't do it on The View. She said she wouldn't do anything different than Biden did.
But they want to believe in their lying eyes. Things will get better if she gets another. If we get 4 more years, the gas can come down maybe. The economy can get better. So they're banking on that, and time makes a believer out of all of us because if this continues, if she wins, a part of me says, if Trump loses, He can ride off into the wind. They don't have a boogeyman anymore. You can't point fingers anymore. You're going to have to look in the mirror. But I really think they don't want 4 more years of this. But they can't even articulate that these 4 years, they can't admit these 4 years have been bad, you know. They don't want 4. They wrote Biden off a couple months ago. Biden was the greatest thing since sliced bread to them. Now reality's sinking in, and they're like, oh, it's been bad with Biden, you know. They don't want 4 more years of that. And she doesn't want 4 more years of that, you know. So you can believe their lying eyes all they want. But Trump voters, they want more of Trump. Because it was good under Trump.
It was.
It was good.
A lot better in the last 4 years. So we'll ride with that.
And we got to live at the end of the day. Life goes on, regardless of who's getting voted in or not. You know, you just have to better yourself. Like you say, prepare for your health and your wealth and try to make the most of it. Because once Trump is gone, it's going to be politics as usual, you know.
That's right. All right, everyone, share this episode far and wide. Remember that good and great are the enemies of possible. Lead like a Spartan today.